Hello and welcome to part two of What is the Life Expectancy of an Immortal American? It's for Interdisciplinary Foundations for Vibrant Longevity 2025 Summer by Vegas K. Jaro or VJR Nathan. So the question is, at what frequency is liberation? As we're asking that as part of the Immortal American. Liberation is the supreme and highest status found good and evil. And when we think about longevity, we're going past kind of expectations of the body. We're going past expectations of whether it's good or evil to, have that life energy, but rather liberation is supremest, highest status beyond good or evil. And we're questioning around the modalities around this. So now, when anyone tells you that they can offer you a cure for all that troubles you, they can offer you a cure for something, they have to first infect you with at least one thing that they can solve. They have to identify one thing in your um, system that they can address or solve. Now, the teachings of Don Juan is a very atypical modality, but in this by Carlos Castaneda, in this system, he talks about non-ordinary states of consciousness, and in order to for the student Carlos to achieve these non-ordinary states, he had to go through a series of experiences with mescalina and peyote and all the drugs of the Iqai way of knowledge in order to induce some of these states into himself. And this is kind of the uncommon path, the left-hand path, commonly known, which is being pathologized in the West. A lot of pathologizing going on in regards to the non-ordinary states of consciousness. We know that only as pathology. And going back to the meme, in order for people to um, receive the cure, they have to pathologize the left-hand path. But an alternative is to lean into these non-ordinary states of consciousness, and that's the kind of the binary there for us, and also understanding mind from a Western perspective has to do with pharmacology, psychopharmacologies, making us function in society, as opposed to Eastern yoga, progressively escalating consciousness. So, we have a progressively escalating consciousness in the Eastern yogas and indigenous understandings. Instead, we have Western approaches to psychopharmacology. And this book, Odes to Lithium, is a really interesting book. It goes into kind of romanticizing a little bit of the journey of mental health. And I'll just quote one particular line from the initial poem, Snakes in Your Arms, where the speaker says, she tells the doctor that it feels like there are snakes in my arms, electric snakes that move quickly, like little zaps through my forearm and wrists. And then he leans in and whispers, "Do you really think that there are snakes in your arms?" And she says, "Of course not," a little later on. And this kind of trickery that she calls it is part of returning to the teaching of Don Juan, where Carlos is asked, "What do you think?" And Don Juan says, "Well, I don't know. All I can say is what I felt." And Don Juan says, "This is all there is in reality, what you felt." So no one has medical powers. There's no room for special treatment. In the Myth of Normal, kind of talks about this a little bit. How many women want to give birth. Traditionally, no natural births are being allowed, and how normal has become the degenerate. We're no longer able to tap into our miracle powers, our abilities, our Buddha nature. We're being, kind of pushed along like cattle to our own slaughter. And that's kind of the problem here with a lot of health wellness and agencies and a lot of mental health agencies that they're again responding to odes of lithium. It's like kind of like, we can't even appreciate or understand the poeticness of and also the non-ordinary state of consciousness around feeling that there's snakes in my arms. And we can't even begin to take that as a reality at some level. Like it's just like ludicrous. It's crazy. It's nonsense. Flow or being in flow is optimal. Is being able to know oneself, know one's own flow, know one's own mind, know one's own heart, and be able to carry it away in that flow. So when person's reality is based entirely on the nature of their heart. And Carlos Castaneda, the teaching of Don Juan talked about you have to have a heart-led mission, heart-led life in order for these drugs to truly understand. And you don't even need the drugs per se. You don't need the lithium. You don't need the peyote. These non-ordinary states of consciousness happen all the time. And whether ordinary, non-ordinary, or regular, whatever, we're moving through states of consciousness. So how do we stop trying to prove something with systems that are always trying to destroy us as individuals? How can our flow not be a threat to the dam, creating power for society? Then onto the river and the ocean's flow. Um, we have ways to make you heal. The shadow is working to become illnesses, that which we do not want to hear or see. The exiles are being managed. In No Bad Parts, he talked about internal family systems, healing trauma, and restoring wholeness with the internal family systems model. Um, the self is not to be understood or realized. When we come to know the self has true knowledge, what it offers us is that there's more to know. There's more to know than we can know ourselves. And what more is there to know but to know ourselves? Um, Individuation and the process of becoming oneself, the re-enchantment after disenchantment. There's so much we can do with our bodies now. In being becoming supernatural. There's a great book that talks about going quantum with our care, going quantum with our care, being able to find pathways into leading into who we truly are, from transgender curing illnesses and disease, from Newtonian cause and effect system to quantum realm system. These are gateways, then, and we are truly are birds, not humans. We're points of light, limitless expressions of love. Um, in the Truth to Power show, in one of our episodes, we talked about light supremacy and how removing all toxic war metaphors for a spiritual process, rewilding the sacred masculine. Even the term jihad, I know it has a term of an internal struggle, but a lot of times it's weaponized form of spiritual warfare. How the religious mindset is going to evolve past these kind of, you know, toxic war metaphors into more gardening and more like nurturing or feminine kind of metaphors or images that can help us liberate ourselves from this toxic masculinity and rewilding the sacred masculine is part of the flowering wand. Rewilding my toxic masculine is part of that. Part of the patriarchy is to, talk about white supremacy, talking about performing masculinity as a constant thankless struggle, and how with that strength comes a weakness, and with that weakness comes a vulnerability. Um, how is the threat assessment going to do us more harm than good? And what adventures or metaphors will come up that are healthy and life affirming? Um, and this meme, it talks about how the dog is like, patriarch is great because I'm a man, and performing masculinity is a constant struggle. And it's all the fault of feminism. So, Teachings of Don Juan really was a great insight into the quiet way of knowledge, non-ordinary states of consciousness, how it can achieve flow, psychology of optimal experience, becoming supernatural, how calm people are doing uncommon things. Canonical Buddhism talks about changing the basic imputation. We are pure beings. The myth of normal talks about how, it's our toxic culture that really is like avoiding or preventing us from achieving what we could do. My grandmother Hands talks about racialized trauma and how we can have clean pain and do meditations where we can have clean pain really in our hearts and bodies. No Bad Parts talks about how the parts kind of reconcile themselves. The Flowering Wand, rewilding the sacred masculine, and one episode of Liberate Yourself, which is very interesting in the Truth to Power show, exploration of liberation and the philosophy of liberation in regards to life and vitality, and how we can achieve a certain vitality. We can achieve a certain vitality with ourselves if we really believe that we are capable of being liberated. So thank you so much.